The sky was burning. The clouds red with twisted fire. Lightning moving across them. And they descended upon everything. Like a furious battle between God and Satan, good and evil. Like a fire vortex.
What is up, y'all? How's everyone doing tonight on this fine Sunday night? We got a good matchup for y'all, folks. It's the final matchup of the Swiss stage of this season's SGL Cup. And this is your man, the only Mazar right here, running the stream and commentating, but I will not be alone in the commentary booth. With me now is Timbers Army's very own Rydog. Rydog, how you doing?
Oh, super, super good. We've been waiting, and I say we because I think I would like to include the entire SGL community in this, that we have been waiting all week for this exact matchup. It's number 1 versus number 2 in the league. We've got the scenarios going down, who does what if this happens, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So it's like, I just want to start now. I really wish we could start now.
I wish we could as well, but we started a little bit early, as you know, Rydog, just to go over those scenarios to see how the next round's matchups will be established depending on what happens tonight. But before we get into that, Rydog, we have an old member in the chat right here, Edson Ochoa, RGV's very own Edson Ochoa, one of the SGL OGs. What's up, my dude? So glad to have you in the chat, my man. But yeah, Rydog, we do have a lot to cover, don't we?
Yeah, we sure do. We sure do. Let's get that current league table or current SGL playoff table up there on the stream for everybody. So this is where we're at right now, and of course, as we mentioned, everybody has already played except for KC College and El Matador, which of course is happening in a little bit. And so, yeah, I guess, Maz, I wanted to ask you, is there a team that kind of stands out to you as you kind of review this table so far on the group stage?
Immediately, there are 2 teams that stand out, if you don't mind me covering both of them.
Do it.
First one, Timbers Army. Now, we talked about this a little bit right off, but I want to mention right here, you know, you guys and your team finished 7th in the league. You showed some potential, but you weren't really performing up to that potential, you know. So I thought, okay, it's been a bumpy season so far. I was gonna expect that kind of bumpiness in the cup tournament as well, and I was thinking you guys would be finishing maybe 4th or maybe 5th, but for you guys to finish up in 2nd and do so well, beating good teams like El Matador along the way, you know, huge props to you all for that kind of improvement and for being able to assert yourself as well in SGL.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we finally figured it out kind of towards the end of the season and into the SGL Cup, and yeah, sitting pretty at number 2. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there could be some movement there. So we'll kind of leave everybody on edge here as we keep going.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, your guys' only loss was to the locals, you know, at round 2, and it's funny I mentioned the locals because that's the second team I wanted to highlight. I thought after round 2 the locals were going to be one of the top teams because they looked really good, but then they suffered 2 big losses in rounds 3 and 4, and now they're down in 7th, and I'm thinking, how did this happen to them? You know, this team was looking so confident, so strong, you know, they were asserting themselves in games, and then in round 3 they lost to El Matador, and I was like, wait a minute, how do you guys lose to El Matador 3-1? I thought it was supposed to be the other way around, right? I thought locals should be beating El Matador 3-1, but that didn't happen. And then in round 4 they faced off against ECRC, and that was a really good matchup, by the way. That could have gone either way. Unfortunately, that match was a loss for them as well, and that meant that they finished in 7th. So for me, that in itself was a surprise. And you know what? For a team that may potentially start in the lower bracket, or we'll go into the format down the line as well, they may be one of the teams to not match up against, you know, for any of these 4 teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to echo some of your points about locals because, of course, yeah, after they beat Timbers Army in round 2, they looked really good. They looked really solid, a well-oiled machine. And then, yeah, I don't know what happened in round 3 and round 4. They, you know, dropped off a little bit. And unfortunately, that's just the nature of Rocket League, right? And it's so similar to real sports, right? You could be undefeated on a 15, 20, 30, 50 game win streak, but it all comes down to how you perform on that day, right? You've got a best of 5 series on a particular day, and it's how you approach that and how ultimately you do that determines where you're at. And unfortunately for locals, those round 3 and round 4 matches, they didn't necessarily go your way. And of course, yeah, what you mentioned about their round 4 matchup against ECRC, which was an incredible match. Unfortunately, they didn't turn out the victors there, and so unfortunately they do have to drop to the 7 seed. But of course, there's going to be a little bit of movement tonight, and we will absolutely get into that a little bit later.
Yes, for sure, Rydog. And there may be some more surprises to come. But one of the things you might be noticing in the league table right now, folks, is Steel Army is above the Rebellion. Now, we've covered the criteria a bunch of times within our community in the past. Some of you may be wondering, wait a minute, Steel Army in 5th? Above 2 teams that have a higher win percentage? How come? This doesn't make sense. If you guys are wondering why that's the case, let us remind you of what the group table ranking criteria is. So keep this table in your head for now, as we switch over to what the ranking criteria is for the group stage. So first off, we go over the win-loss records. So the teams with a better win-loss record are higher up. Then the first tiebreaker after win-loss record is tied between the sides is the head-to-head record between the tied teams. All right, that is very, very important, and we'll cover where that head-to-head record starts to be applied in the table. And the next up, we have games won percentage and then MB points. Now, the games won percentage and MB points are more straightforward because you see them directly in the table. All right, but this head-to-head, not necessarily. You'll have to look through the past results for them. Now, keep that number 2 in mind. Keep that first tiebreaker in mind, folks, as we go back to the league table. Now, look at Steel Army's position. For those of you who don't know, Steel Army actually already played the Rebellion in the group stage in round 3. And they beat the Rebellion 3-1. By virtue of beating the Rebellion, they go above the Rebellion in the league table. All right? And since that is the first tiebreaker, that also gets them over the locals in Emerald City Blue because games won percentage is lower in priority than head-to-head. Now, you may still be wondering, wait a minute. The locals in Emerald City Blue didn't play against Steel Army, so how come the head-to-head applies? Well, the head-to-head is in relation to the Rebellion. So the Rebellion has a higher win percentage than both the locals in Emerald City Blue. And since Steel Army beat them, they go over the Rebellion, and as a result, they finish above the locals and Emerald City Blue as well. I hope that makes sense by my explanation. Rydog, I don't know if you want to add anything into that.
No, that I think you covered it pretty well. It is pretty confusing, especially just looking at this table, right? And so I think Maz, you did a good job of trying to explain it. But of course, if you're a visual learner like me, Maz and I talked on the phone earlier this week, or I guess last week at this point, for probably an hour and a half, talking through the scenarios and everything, and we went through it one by one. So yeah, it is a little tough to see on the surface. But yeah, if you just go back to like the results, you'll kind of see, oh, Steel Army played Rebellion in week 3 or whatever and got the win, and then you see locals with the head. So it's a little tough to see on the surface there, but yeah, I think hopefully it makes sense. And we're here to answer questions too, so just throw them in Twitch chat, and we will get those answered.
Absolutely, we're happy to answer your questions, folks. If you're watching, feel free to bring them up in the chat and we'll be happy to answer them. Now after this, we do want to cover the scenarios. If KC win and if EM win, because they will affect the matchups in the next round. Before we do, we'll give like a few seconds for any questions before we move on. Otherwise, Rydog, I think we should be good to go.
Yeah, we can always come back to the table and explain things further if people have questions. But yeah, let's just keep going, and then yeah, I'll just try and monitor Twitch chat as best I can, and we'll just keep going.
All right, sounds good. So guys, if KC Cauldron win, here is what the group stage rankings will look like, and here are the matchups in the first round of the knockout stage. So as you can see right here, folks, KC Cauldron with their win will finish at the top. Timbers Army will finish in second, and then ECRC will be in third. Now remember that tiebreaker between Steel Army and the Rebellion? That effectively pushes Steel Army up to fourth. And then El Matador are finishing ahead of the locals. And you're wondering, wait a minute, is there some head-to-head shenanigans going on there as well? Absolutely, folks, because El Matador beat the locals in round 3. And because they beat the locals, they get that head-to-head tiebreaker over them. So they finish in 6th. And as a result of these standings, here are your matchups for round 1. And I'm not necessarily going to repeat what's on the image, but what I'm going to do is, Rydog, I'm going to ask you, what do you think about these matchups, these prospective matchups, if KC Cauldron wins?
Yeah, I think they're good. I think the top 8 is incredibly close, and we've been saying it all Swiss stage that the seedings coming into the Swiss just really didn't mean much, right? Because of course you have what you mentioned before, Timbers Army being the 7th seed and climbing into the 2nd seed with this scenario, right? And you could say the same thing about, you know, these other teams as well, right? And so we have 8 just super quality teams, and so realistically you can't go wrong with these scenarios going forward, right? You've got KC Cauldron and Steel Army 1 versus 4. That's going to be an absolute banger of a matchup. And of course you've got the Cascadia rivalry and Timbers Army versus ECRC, so that'll be of course another banger. And then just looking at the losers round 1 too, those are also like really tough to call, because I feel like all of these teams can beat all of these teams if you just play them on the right day, right? Like we talked about a little bit earlier with locals, right? Starting out the Swiss 2-0 just on their groove, and it's unfortunately kind of the opposite, right? If they just weren't on their groove for their last 2 matches, and that's what brought them down into the 2-2 record there. But like I said, it's the opposite. Any team can win on any given day, so I don't think there's one that stands out to me the most. I think they all are just absolute banger matches.
Oh, for real. I think they're all. I'm with you on that. I think they're all high-quality matches. Although I will say, KC Cauldron does feel like a clear favorite over Steel Army. You know, Debit mentioned in the chat, wait, military meme image with Cloud in the lineup if we make top 4. I know he's talking about his lineup with that because he feels like his lineup isn't that good to finish in the top 4. But, you know, they're still a good team. I just think KC Cauldron is going to be too good for them mechanically. Like, when they have Smitty, Cheeky, and Thoringold in there, they're unstoppable. Or if Serrano plays, oh my goodness, then which team can beat them, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, KC's at the top of the table for a reason. Of course, they haven't clinched top of the table just yet. We'll get into that in just a second here. But yeah, they finished first in the league for a reason, and of course, they're near the top here in the Swiss stage, so nothing really surprises me there. They are clearly one of the best, if not the best team in the league.
Absolutely. Now, my favorite matchup of all that is El Matador versus the locals. You're talking about 2 teams that you don't want to face in the lower bracket, and they're facing off against each other, man. And I don't know how to call that. I mean, either team can win right there, in all honesty.
Yeah, because I feel like when we played El Matador, we beat them in round 1 of Swiss. Like, we didn't get their best, but then when we played locals in round 2, we got their best. And so it's going to be really interesting to see that match. I think that's probably going to be the closest match out of the 4. Just kind of looking just at a surface level. But yeah, no, it's going to be incredible.
Absolutely. And, you know, but keep in mind, folks, these are just prospective matchups. These are not guaranteed. Because if El Matador wins, yes, if somehow, some way, El Matador beats KC Cauldron, Rydog, I think you're looking forward to this. Here's what we have for the final rankings and the round 1 matchups. Yes, folks, if El Matador beats KC Cauldron, Timbers Army finishes at the top. Who'd have thunk it, folks? Who'd have thunk it? Timbers Army will be at the top, Rydog.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. We were going through the scenarios earlier this week, Maz and I, and when we were kind of finalizing everything, and I noticed that TA was at the top, I was like, what? Like, it just doesn't seem right. Like, starting from 7th, going into Swiss, and now possibly having a chance to be the #1 seed is crazy. And I guess in typical Timbers fashion, if you follow MLS at all, if you follow the Timbers at all, they usually like to start to play well kind of later in the season when it's a little bit too late. So fortunately for us, it's not too late. And so yeah, getting that #1 seed, to be fair, the only real advantage to getting the 1 seed is getting the server in the second round, because of course, as you take a look over to the right side of your screen, with the way the top 4 shake out, if El Matador wins, Timbers Army still plays ECRC. So that match is actually set no matter what happens tonight. If KC Cauldron win or if Matador win, it's just the seeding at that point. And then of course you got to look right below that, right? And you would have a direct rematch, the 2 seed versus the 3 seed in El Matador versus KC next week if El Matador wins, which would absolutely be absurd.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's crazy to think that we have these kind of matchups coming if El Matador wins. We not only get a rematch, but we also have the Cascadia matchup. And then we have in the losers bracket in the lower round some very close matchups. Steel Army versus EC Blue, tough to call. Rebellion versus Locals, again, very tough to call, especially with how much better the Rebellion is getting. And in all honesty, no matter which team wins, we're getting some very good matchups, and we're going to have close matches, that's for sure.
Right, absolutely. And I was thinking kind of before, I was like, hey, do I want to ask, like, who's the favorites to win? And I think maybe you could put KC in that conversation for sure. Of course, we'll see what happens tonight. But then, do you have a second team that could challenge them? I don't know, because
Emerald
I feel
City
like
RC.
all these teams can just beat the other teams at any given day. I mean, there's a crazy world where I see Rebellion making it top 3, right? I see a crazy world where I see Steel Army making a sleeper run, right? I see all these things, and it's just so hard to call at the end of the day. So obviously we've been on the edge of our seats waiting for this match, and then of course after this match we're going to be even more on the edge of our seats going into the knockouts.
Absolutely right, Og. It's just crazy to think of the potential of this SGL Cup tournament. Given how it started and given where we are right now, I didn't envisage it to be this incredible. The top 8 is absolutely close. I mean, it could go either way. Sure, your top 2 or 3 teams are maybe further away. I say top 4 for that matter, maybe further away. But anything can happen in a cup tournament. You never know. And that's the beautiful thing about cup tournaments, especially when you go into the knockout round. One match is all that it takes for a surprise, for a huge upset. And I really cannot wait for next week. I think next week we're going to have some really fun matchups. I'm looking forward to this one, right, Og? I don't know about you, and I don't know about chat, but I'm absolutely looking forward to this.
Yeah, I am as well. Of course, no matter who wins, right? The matchups are going to be great. Of course, I would feel a lot better going into next week, playing our match and winning our match against Emerald City RC. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Indeed. And you know what else we're also waiting for, folks? We are waiting for KC Cauldron versus El Matador, which should kick off in about 4 minutes, depending on when the teams arrive and are ready to go. And right, Og, let's talk about this matchup for a little bit. We have one team that is at the absolute top, that has gotten better, scarily enough, compared to their league campaign, and are now pretty much unbeatable, versus a team, that has been inconsistent, but has been growing into it and getting better over time. Do you think El Matador can spring a surprise here? And if so, what would it take?
Yeah, I think we'll start with El Matador. I think they're definitely the underdog in this scenario, but I think that suits them pretty well. I think the combination of Luis and Caesar is just at some points unstoppable. And they are scary good. How fast and how intertwined they are with their game. You'll see Luis going up the right wall, but then you'll see Caesar nowhere in the play, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll see Luis hit Caesar the ball and he scores, and you're just like, where did you just come from, right? And so they're so good together. They're actually, I would like to say, one of the best duos in the league as a whole. And so that duo is going to be super key for them to take games and hopefully do well against KC Cauldron. And of course, we don't want to forget about their third in Couve, And I'm gonna give him a special shout out because he did say that he would ship me some Sonic tater tots. So shout out Kuv there.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you mentioned Kuv right here, because as good as Kuv has been getting, and as good of a teammate as he's becoming for his team, KC Cauldron's three are all equal at skill level, and they all play at a very high level too. So you don't have the kind of disparity between players that El Matador has when Kuv is in the lineup, and I need to highlight that because that may be their potential weakness, and if El Matador isn't careful, KC Cauldron could exploit that and just, play way too fast for them to handle. Think about the threes that KC Cauldron could come up with. They could play Smitty, Thoringold, and Cheeky. They could play Serrano, Smitty, and Thoringold. They could play Cheeky, Smitty, and Serrano. With those four players, they have a lot of different combinations that could be very dangerous. And there's no way for them to really get a weakened lineup out there for El Matador to take advantage of. Realistically, the only way for El Matador to take advantage of KC Cauldron is if KC Cauldron has a connectivity issue of some sort, where one of their players is struggling to really get going, or they have a problem with their computer that prevents them from playing at their best. Because, if El Matador only has Caesar, Luis, and Kuv, then I don't know if they have enough to beat KC Cauldron.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, right? You just list off those names for KC Cauldron, and I'm just sitting here every time getting goosebumps of like, holy crap! Like any one of those guys can pop off at any given moment, and I think that's what's so scary. And I think we saw it last week too against when KC played ECRC in round 3. Where everybody was kind of looking at Cheeky Prophet going, okay, he's the mechanical mastermind, he's going to be the one to take it to the sky and kind of show you the mechanical side of the game. And it ended up not being him. It was actually Smitty who scored all but like 1 or 2 goals for them and was involved in 90 to 100% of the goals. And so just that alone is just so scary, because especially as an opponent, right, you go into this game thinking, hey, let's just shut down this player, or hey, let's get this guy off his game. But with KC, you have to do that with all 3 players, and it's almost impossible to stop.
And that's the thing. KC Cauldron no longer has a weakness. That's scary. The only time they would have a weakness is if they were playing Funch. But I'm not sure if Funch is going to be playing tonight. I think they'll have a stronger trio, or group of 4 players. So yeah, I don't know how El Matador is gonna deal with this. And chat, let us know your thoughts, because in all honesty, I see one clear favorite here. KC Cauldron is just that good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that El Matador can show us what they can do, and I really hope this isn't just a 3-0 sweep and it's just KC just pouring it on. I think if Caesar and Luis can get going, I think if they can just find their groove and get into it, and Kuv can kind of just glue his way in there, I think they're going to be in good shape. But yeah, once again, this is going to be a crazy match, and I think we're getting ready to go.
Indeed we are, folks. Both lineups are in now, and for KC Cauldron, you do see Cheeky, Thoringold, and I believe Serrano, right?
Yeah.
And here we go. Kickoff at Manfield for Game 1 of the final Swiss stage matchup.
Yeah, this will be super fun, and of course Luis rocking his Gen G Mobile One Racing. As a little side note, they ended up winning the North America bracket today, so he's hoping to carry some of that luck over into this series.
Oh my goodness, what a save right there. Serrano was coming in, and it looked like Kuv had no chance of beating him, but his positioning helped him right there to get that save at the near post.
Yeah, I think the boost game is going to be super important for our Matador, right? Because as we keep mentioning that, KC can attack with all 3 players, and they're all 3 really, really solid players. And the way to defend them is with boost. You need somebody with boost. You need somebody constantly challenging. As Cheeky Prophet's going to get a shot, and Luis turns it away. But once again, he doesn't have a lot of boost, so he's just going to have to try and keep this close and win at 50. But that is going to be so important for El Matador moving forward.
It's a good thing you mentioned boost, because right as we see over here, El Matador have been pinned back pretty much since kickoff. And that is not a good sign for them, because the moment they get pinned back like that, they're going to have all the boost stolen. and they're going to need to be very, very efficient with their boost usage because any inefficiency is going to spell trouble for them. Right now, though, I think Luis is doing a stellar job of managing his boost and making sure that, you know, his team can keep possession whenever. And they finally get the ball out to the other end, and now let's see if they can maintain some pressure. But unfortunately for them, Rydog, this KC Calder team is right up to the game.
Yeah, it doesn't like KC Cauldron are at their full potential yet, as Luis is actually going to get the party started for El Matador. What a double. He hits it to the backboard to himself and gets the flip reset. He will flip it into the bottom right-hand corner. And El Matador surprisingly take the lead in game 1.
Folks, that is a huge play right there. Luis, all he needed to do was beat Serrano. And once he beat Serrano, that spelled trouble for Cauldron. They had 2 players sitting at the far post, none of them really getting up there to try and challenge Luis for the second touch. And with that double tap, you can see what El Matador has, you know, with Luis. That individual ability to get goals out of nothing. And I think they need to rely on that right now as Cheeky Prophet brings it very close to an equalizer for the Cauldron.
Yeah, I think you're starting to notice that Caesar's that 50 is going to go just wide. That Caesar's kind of the one hanging back a little bit, and you're starting to see Kuv push up a little bit more, and I think that's going to bode well for El Matador. So we'll see how KC responds a little bit if they come out with some physical play. Caesar's going to play this one off the crossbar. He's going to want that one back.
My goodness, what an effort right there from Caesar. And it's a good thing you brought him up because, yeah, him being more defensive is actually a good thing. I like Caesar's defending and support play, and Luis can rotate off him as well. Luis I consider to be one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player in SGL. So it's all it takes for El Matador is to get Kuv going, get him challenging, get him going for those 50s, get him disrupting the Cauldron's game right here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll even reference my team too. It's actually really important in communications. As Cheeky Prophet's going to go up, it's going to go right to Caesar. Can Serrano follow this up? He can't. Kuv is going to get in the way, and Luis is going to stall this one out and survive another attack. But it's important to kind of give those players a boost, right? You mentioned the skill disparity a little bit in the pregame, and you guys will kind of see it a little bit of maybe not necessarily game sense, but definitely on the mechanical side of things for sure. But it's definitely good as your other teammates to just help out and just say, hey, you can go for this. Hey, we're behind you with boost. You can go, and just kind of give them that little boost to get them going.
And it's working really well for El Matador right now because you can see Kuv really causing a little bit of a headache for the Cauldron. You know, they need to rush their game now. They can't slow down anymore because Kuv is right at their feet, you know? And this allows, as you mentioned, both Caesar and Luis to be able to go back, refill up on their boost, and set themselves up defensively. And so far, their game plan has been perfect.
Yeah, they're not rushing challenges. They're taking 50s very well. They're finding each other on clears, which is super important, linking the offense and the defense, right? You're not just throwing the ball downfield and just, you know, basically giving the ball back to KC Cauldron. You're keeping the ball, you're keeping possession. Of course, you're up 1 with under a minute to go, and that's exactly what you want.
Oh my goodness, so close! And Kuv misses a shot right there. Caesar coming in, saying, that's my shot. Got really close, and now Cauldron again off of the crossbar. How many times are they gonna have that, Rydog? This is insane.
Yeah, crossbar MVP right now for both teams. El Matador should be up 3 or 4-0 if I'm being honest. And well, if that one goes in for KC, maybe 3 or 4-1. So it's just interesting. Yeah, the crossbar being the 4th defender is Serrano's going to try and get KC on the board. But right now the defense for El Matador is just super, super locked down.
That's exactly the start they needed, Rydog, and it's so good to see the confidence coming up as we count down to the final 10 seconds. Kuv causing a lot of disruption. Serrano's trying to take over. Thorgal now, can he get something here? Big 50. That's it for Cheeky, and Cheeky gets the equalizer at the very last second. Rydog, they pulled the rabbit out of the hat. They got that equalizer.
Yeah, I didn't like Luis just kind of sitting on the goal line and just waiting for KC to attack them. I think that's ultimately why they scored and why they got that buzzer beater in the end. And nonetheless, we have an overtime in game 1.
Oh man, you feel for El Matador right there, but KC Cauldron, they were sweating in those final few seconds and they pulled it off. This should give them all the confidence they need to get going again. Once again, a shot off target, but KC Cauldron have a pep in their step right now, right on.
Yeah, the momentum has definitely shifted their way. I think they finally figured out this defensive press that El Matador has given. Serrano's going to challenge Luis in the midfield, but Yeah, that's exactly what you don't want if you're El Matador. You do not want to give them momentum. And of course, those other scoring chances, you really wish that they could have scored and put this game to bed. But nonetheless, we're here in overtime.
Cheeky Prophet right here, getting the ball out the way. And once again, the Cauldron are getting a shot on target. And Serrano's in there with the game winner, Rydog. And that is exactly what they needed. Really good play by Cheeky. Thorngold coming in with the interference. And Serrano right there with the nice, precise finish. El Matador can count themselves unlucky right here, but that is a huge win for the Cauldron.
Yeah, I like to think that Cauldron kind of stole that game, right? Not even just from that, 0-second goal that brought him into overtime, but just kind of the way the game played out. It seemed like El Matador just had more of the better chances, right? You'll see the shots, were just super KC Cauldron heavy, but I just don't think that tells the complete story. I think El Matador hit the crossbar 3 or 4 times, right? And then, you got to finish those chances. You have to finish those chances, especially against the KC Cauldron where, yeah, they may pull up a lot of shots, but the amount of good opportunities that they had maybe was like 3 or 4, and they scored 2. And that's all you need.
Right, exactly. I mean, that was a park the bus setup right there from El Matador. Cauldron with 16 shots, and El Matador had something like around 8 to 10 saves in tandem. That can only last so long in Rocket League. You need to do a lot more in the midfield. Battle it out there, make sure the ball is staying in that area and that the teams are losing out on boost from there. Sitting back can only do so much in Rocket League, Rydog.
Yeah, absolutely. When you get that 1-0 lead, you don't want to just sit back and soak up a lot of pressure because that's how mistakes happen, right? If you're just giving your opponent just more and more opportunities, they're bound to score one in the end. And of course, KC did with literally nothing left on the clock. We went straight into overtime. And let's see if that momentum carries over to game 2.
Here we go, game 2. You'd think KC Cauldron are the clear favorites now with that close win, but you never know with the way Luis and Caesar are playing. They may be able to pull an upset. Who knows?
Oh, but they're going to get started early. Thorngold with a long clear out of the midfield. Kuv is back with no boost, unfortunately. He couldn't challenge this ball from Thorngold. He's just going to put it right over Kuv at the end of the day, and it's going to be an early start for KC.
See, that's the kind of pass I would like to see if you have a third who's able to challenge and get a 50. When you have Kuv, though, unfortunately, you need to hold on to the ball and dribble more, like what Caesar's doing right now. Not a good start, but there's still a lot of Rocket League to go. Cauldron, though, this is exactly what they needed, Rydog. This is exactly what will allow them to play their game now.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they have that goal advantage as Thorngold is going to get this drop-down pass from Serrano. Serrano just boots it up, and Thorngold says, I'll go get it, and I'll hit it down, and Kuv was no idea what was going on. Frankly, I had no idea what was going on, and it's 2-0 with 30 seconds into the game.
Not gonna lie, I had no idea you could do that with the Dominus. Touch the ball down and keep that forward momentum going. I thought he was just playing for a pass right there, but that is a beautiful finish. Really good creative Rocket League again from the Cauldron, and they're now starting to flex their muscles, folks. They're now starting to show why they are a top team in SGL.
Yeah, and I really think that comes down to getting that overtime win in game 1, right? I think this is a completely different game, and maybe El Matador has some more momentum going into this game if they take game 1 in regulation. So, but here they are in attack with Luis. He's going to go to the backboard and get bumped out of the way. Can Caesar follow this up? He can't. It's going to leave Kuv in an awkward situation. Fortunately, Thorngold couldn't put it on target.
Yeah, I don't know if Caesar needed to go for that because he had little to no boost right there. Not that it matters, though. Serrano going in for a shot, misses, but Kuv unfortunately redirects it in for an own goal. And KC Cauldron already 3-0 up, Rydog, and we're not even at halftime.
Yeah, the runaway games are not what you want if you're El Matador. Of course, if you're KC, you're loving this right now. You're basically saying game 2 is almost to bed, especially with the lack of opportunities already for El Matador as KC just continues to pile it on. Here comes a fourth from Thorngold. He's going to get a hat trick.
I mean, there's not much else to say, right? Serrano is the playmaker right here. Cheeky Prophet creating a chance right there. And then Thorngold coming in. Standard textbook Rocket League goal. Ball off the corner, ball off the backboard, and then a finish. Those kind of goals are still very tough to deal with in general. And I'm not surprised that El Matador struggled right there.
Yeah, I'm wondering from Matador, how do you get back into this game? I think a big part of it is you absolutely have to unleash Luis and you absolutely have to unleash Caesar, but right now I don't know where Koov's at. He's not even in the play, and KC's gonna attack. Are they gonna go for a 5th goal? Serrano and Cheeky Prophet both go. It's not gonna reap a reward in the end, but once again, if you look at the boost totals from Matador, they're all super low.
Yeah, I think what needs to happen is, as Thorgold gets his 4th, El Matador need one of Luis or Caesar to hang back and be a dedicated 3rd and tell Coop, yo, go for the ball, go for the ball. And then that 3rd needs to come up and challenge, because right now what they're doing isn't working. The game 1 strategy is failing them miserably at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. KC definitely figured it out after, well, we'll even say in the middle of game 1, because of course they came back and took it in overtime. But yeah, I agree, and I think that's a big part of it too, right? Is these seemingly lower ranked players, right? You want them to feel comfortable, and you don't want them to try and play up to the level that they're not. And so it's often you have to encourage them to say, hey, go for what you're comfortable with. We will be in the back and we will be there to support you, but don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do, because that's going to throw us off, because we don't know what you're actually comfortable with.
Exactly, and I learned that lesson a long time ago when I was first playing Rocket League in the early days. Everyone has to go through that when they're, potentially going up the skill level, either in solo queue or with their, high-level friends. It's a tough lesson to learn. It's tough to curb your, gaming habits, but it's one that's necessary right here. And I think El Matador have slowed KC Cauldron down adequately. Despite the pressure, despite them looking a clear second best, I think they're doing a decent job of just preventing goals at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. The chances from KC have definitely stopped for the most part, as Thorgoat's gonna go flying past that one. But once again, just Caesar and Luis right now are not on the same page, which does not bode well for them in the future games. As Thorgoat, can he get another one? No, it's gonna be hit right at Caesar. Cheeky Prophet does a risky 3rd man play, but it's going to work out in the end.
Nice touch right there by Coop. Now he follows it up, beats one. Is he able to play a pass? No, he doesn't. Luis now needs to go. What a 50 by Serrano. Gets a big win right there. And now Caesar needs to play himself out of the back. Luis is coming up right now to Rydog. It might be just those two who needs to create a goal right here. Caesar, though, isn't able to get the ball on target. Serrano, once again, being the main guy for Cauldron. He's just everywhere. He's all action, isn't he?
Yeah, he is really all over the place. I feel like every time he shoots, as there's a demo that comes out, it's going to go off the post in the end. But yeah, every time that somebody shoots or whatever, they're just like always back. It's crazy, and I think a lot of that has to do with the boost totals. We mentioned it in game 1 a little bit, that the boost for El Matador this game has just been really rough, and you need somebody to have boost to be able to challenge basically every single player, because they're all going to go up and they're all going to try and do something mechanically, and they've all been flowing, as Serrano's going to get a really big demo. But for right now, for El Matador, it's definitely about momentum based, right? It's you got to chalk this one and put this one to bed, but can you kind of shore up some things late in this game too to set yourselves up for game 3?
That's right. I mean, you need to learn from your mistakes, and I think they've done so right here. I mean, granted, KC Cauldron kind of slowed down as well, got a little sloppier, but credit to El Matador for preventing the goals from going in, and for showing KC Cauldron, hey, we can compete still. We can still do something right here. But folks, KC Cauldron takes game 2. This wasn't a close one like game 1. This was a convincing victory, and KC Cauldron are truly showing everyone what they're all about.
Yeah, as you can see, Caesar had the only shot for El Matador, 1 shot, and KC were just kind of doing their thing. They had 12.
Incredible, just incredible to see.
Yeah, I think that tells the tale, right? I think in game 1, the shots per team didn't tell you the whole story, right? But I think in this game, I think it does. I think 5-0 score line, you see 12 shots to 1. I think that just shows you all you needed to know about game 2.
Exactly, and you can see this coming. After that game 1, you're thinking, yep, it's just gonna continue and it's only gonna get worse. Granted, it did. There you go. And with that said, Rydog, I think the formula was there in game 1, funnily enough. I think they need to let Koov go, and they need to have one of Luis and Caesar just hang back and wait for Koov's challenge, and if he wins or fails, react off of that. That's the only way to overcome KC Cauldron right here.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully Luis and Caesar can kind of give Kuv that confidence. All right, I think that's a big piece of it because, like I said, those lower ranked players, they just feel like they're lost all the time. But if you can kind of keep building up their mental and keep building up, hey, you can do it. Hey, good challenge. Keep it like I want you to do that every time. And those positive reinforcements are going to be so helpful for them going into game 3.
Oh, what am I seeing right here, Rydog? El Matador got a goal off a kickoff with no resistance?
Oh, Serrano missed his flip, but allowed Luis to just come in and smack it home. And so, it's the perfect start. It's absolutely the perfect start as we've got some banter in the chat going on right now.
Right? You take what you get. A goal's a goal.
That's they all count the same. They all count the same in the end. And here goes Kuv. This is what you want for El Matador. Get him on the ball. Get him comfortable. It's gonna allow Luis and Caesar to do their thing.
Oh
my goodness! The flip reset comes out. Wow, that was pretty.
What an incredible goal by Luis right there. Slowing it down, getting that touch, getting the reset dunk off of Serrano, and then getting the flip into the ball to put it in the back of the net. That is Luis goals. That is a Luis play. Oh my goodness, 2-0 up already. We haven't even hit the 30-second mark.
Yeah, this is a really good start for El Matador. Let's see if they can keep this up. Of course, in game 1, they had the lead for a majority of the game. They just couldn't keep it. They lost it at 0 seconds, so once again, they're kind of staying in the blue half, and Kuv, you're starting to see him getting more and more involved in the offense, which is exactly what you want.
Big time, and this is the first time I think KC Conner got the ball into El Matador's end, but they're not able to do much with that. Yet, I think that demo should help them. No, it does not. The pressure's still on for them.
Yeah, because Luis will spawn back with full boost, as this one's going to be cleared by Thorn. Gold Cheeky profits up. He's going to get a read. I'm not sure what his plan was in the end, but here comes Kuv. He's going to tag team it with Luis and get it over midfield. So once again, this game kind of stalling out a little bit here.
Yeah, but what I like about El Matador right here, right, as you said, they need to get Kuv involved up there. And oh my goodness, El Matador get a third! With Caesar doing the work, all the dirty work right there. A little bit messy from Calder. I don't know what was going on there. They just looked so uncertain. Thorngo got beaten at the near post, and then Luis was there to clean it up and get that third goal in. Folks, this is a big start for El Matador.
Yeah, the one downside from El Matador right now is that it's early in the game. So you're giving KC plenty of time to come back, which of course is what you don't want. But of course, and the tale is told, right, that when you're winning, the clock moves slower. So we'll see how they clock manage the rest of the game here in game 3.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what? If I was also El Matador, I'd be counting my blessing. You know, I'd take this. I'd be like, hey, 3-0 up. Why not? It's good.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, Cheeky. And now Luis's turn to do some individual play right here. Trying to get the reset, but couldn't. Now Thorgo clears it out. One thing that I'm noticing here that's interesting is earlier on, they were having Luis and Caesar go with Kuv hanging back as a third, presumably because they wanted to get those, like, you know, they wanted to capitalize on their chances. But now we're starting to see Kuv be the second man and one of those two be the third man. And I think now they have the game plan set in stone.
Yeah, I just think that's a really good play, right? If you can get Kuv on the ball and maybe... he almost gets on the score sheet after a really nice bump from Luis, but you get Kuv to challenge KC in the air and make them do something, and then you have a Luis and Caesar to kind of clean it up, keep possession, those sorts of things. So I think that's a really good game plan moving forward, but we've also seen with KC that they've been demoing a lot on the back line, and not demoing the person in front, but maybe the second or third. So that could bode really well for them in the future.
It's not working out for them right now, though, Rydog, because Prince is struggling to keep possession and establish the pressure. On almost every occasion, you're seeing them be so uncertain at the back, hesitate, and really slow down their build-up. I don't know why they want to play at such a slower pace, because it just plays to El Matador's favor, no?
Yeah, I think it does. I think KC will win with speed, and so I think if you see them get back into this game, you're going to start to see the speed increase for sure.
Yeah, maybe all it takes is a goal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it a little bit earlier today in my ranked games. The other team was up 4-1 with about 30 seconds left. That shot's going to go just wide from Serrano. But yeah, it's Cheeky Profit. Can he get this one on target? Serrano's going to tuck it home, and they're on the board.
mean, that's what they needed there, don't they? And that goal is big for them because with less than 90 seconds to go, they needed a goal right now, and that they got. You'd think that would put El Matador under pressure. You'd think that would result in the second goal in like 30 or so more seconds. We shall see right now, but this might be a turning point for Cauldron.
Yeah, no lead is safe in Rocket League, right? Until that lead hits 0, and of course you saw that with El Matador with their 1-goal lead, giving it up unfortunately at 0 seconds in game 1. But like I said, I was in my ranked game and we scored 3 goals in 30 seconds to send it in overtime. So there's a cheeky Prophet. It's a cheeky chip from Cheeky Prophet, and he's gonna he's gonna cut the lead in half for El Matador. And yeah, now it's getting a little scary.
Here we go. Remember what we talked about? 1 goal is all it takes, and we're still above a minute to go, and the lead is down to 1. One thing I noticed right there, where was the third for El Matador? When who went up? Who was sitting back? No one was back.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see, and Cheeky Prophet's gonna go in again, and Luis is gonna clear this to the side, but here come KC. They're coming with full force now. This last 45 seconds are gonna be
oh my goodness.
really dangerous for El Matador.
Yeah, I was like, you know, freaking gulping right there, nervousness. But Luis is going in, trying to go for a solo dribbling effort. Now it's Koov's turn, but he's unable to get the shot right there. Caesar doing a good job sitting back. And oh my goodness, with less than 30 seconds to go, can El Matador hold on for this win and take us to game 4?
I don't know, Luis and Caesar both commit, and that's going to leave Koov in an awkward spot. Cheeky Prophet, that ball goes up. Serrano didn't judge it right. Here comes Thorngold. Can they put this one on target? Can't. But this ball is just going to sit in the orange half for these last 5 seconds. El Matador definitely need to win their 50s and get a clear out.
Here we go, final second, folks, and El Matador sees it off. That last play from the Cauldron was telling. That Thorngold whiff was not a fake. Sorry, that Serrano whiff was not a fake, I think, because it threw Thorngold off and he was not ready for it. Right on. What a big win for El Matador. This is exactly what they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think if you were to look forward, I think KC has all the momentum going into the next game, right? They scored 2 goals with, a minute 30 left, right? And so they cut the lead down. Unfortunately, they weren't able to cut the lead completely down, but they have the momentum going into the next game. And so hoping El Matador can kind of get off to that quick start again like they did in this past game. So I think that's a really big key for them moving forward.
Indeed. And I will say this, though. I don't think KC Cauldron is going to be as sloppy as they were in this game 3. I think in game 4, they're going to clean up their game for sure. And we shall see as the players are starting to enter into Utopia Coliseum. Yep, wrong screen. Utopia Coliseum. There you go. Still the same thing on both sides.
Yeah, no substitutes. I'm going to hit spectate, not auto, even though I do want to play. But here we go nonetheless. It is game 4. KC, of course, want to get this done in 4 and do not want to send us to game 5. But, of course, only time will tell.
A little bit of an awkward pass there from Koov to Luis, but they see that off. Now the ball is entering KC Cauldron's half. Cheeky Prophet trying to clear this off and get himself back into it. Koov, though, with a critical touch to get Cheeky Prophet away. Let's see if they can do something about this right here. Nice pass from Serrano. Thorngold, though, was not ready for that. Again, that's surprising to see. I would expect Thorngold to be ready for those kind of plays, but we're seeing it once again. That he's just not up to sync. He's not synced up with his teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. But you see a lot of boost right now for KC's. Koov is going to miss that one off the back line, and Caesar's going to get the save. I think Cheeky Prophet tried to fake him out. Nonetheless, we're going to stay scoreless.
Goodness gracious, what a player right there from Caesar. He didn't give up. He's like, I'm just getting the ball. I don't care what happens because it's going to be a goal anyways. Speaking of goal anyways, Serrano comes in and gets the goal. 1-0 up to the Cauldron. Is it any surprise, right on?
No, not really. And Koov went up a little bit too far and didn't challenge. Caesar ended up getting demoed on the back line. It's going to be the early lead for KC. So we'll see how El Matador respond, but it's a great start for KC.
I mean, there's some banter going on in the chat right now between Luis and Caesar. But in all honesty, I think Caesar was trusting Koov to get that challenge. He couldn't engage, and that's what resulted in the goal right there. El Matador though, coming right back into it. This is a little awkward right now. This is where the Cauldron can take advantage. And Cheeky Prophet coming in, almost getting a goal. Serrano's turn to see if he can get something in. No, he cannot. And now, oh no, KC Cauldron still applying the pressure here.
Yeah, it was a triple commit coming out on that last attack. Kind of threw them for a loop a little bit, but it looks like they've stabilized a little bit. As Koov's going to play this up to Caesar. We'll see if any attacks can come out from it.
Ooh, couldn't get the 50 right there. Now Luis needs to defend all on his own. 1v1 against Serrano. There's only one favor when Serrano gets into a 1v1. And as you can see, Serrano gets the second for himself and for KC Cauldron.
Yeah, Luis actually went for a squishy save, which I think is actually a really good play there with how Luis was positioned. And he actually almost got there. Maybe another quarter of a second and he saves that. He's claiming with ping that he hit that, but nonetheless, it's going to count for KC and they double their lead.
I'm not surprised to see that. I mean, these Rocket League servers are a little bit funky when it comes to those goal line moments. There are moments where I feel like I hit the ball as well, but it doesn't count. And there are moments where I feel like the ball crosses the line and the goal doesn't count. It's just, you know, Rocket League's in an interesting state right now with this servers. But you know what is also in an interesting state? This matchup right now, Cauldron looking formidable, but El Matador getting back into it. We'll see if they can get that one goal back into this game.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, and we really haven't seen a lot of demo plays come out, right? You see the demo on the third man, and then, you know, the second man comes in and finishes it up, but there's been some demos, don't get me wrong, but they just haven't been like the plays, right? The attacking prowess, right? So we'll see if El Matador can get that set up as Thorngold's gonna 50 Luis and it's gonna go straight into the net.
I'm not sure I expected that. Luis is typically very good with the 50s, but it looks like he wasn't expecting Thorngold to come in like that. He got caught off guard. Thorngold rewarded for his effort, and KC Cauldron also rewarded for his work right there. 3-0 up, and we are in the second half of this match, of this game, folks, and it looks like it's going to be nothing but KC right here.
Yeah, don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but El Matador's got to give us something on the offensive end that give us just a little bit of life to say that they can still be in this game. And here come out the demos, right, from KC, but they're the ones with the 3-0 lead.
Yeah, I mean, they probably listened to you on commentary, right? They're like, yeah, we should start demoing some more, right? And here we go. The bumps and demos are now coming out.
I think what's so interesting to see about KC too, and we've said this over a little bit, is they always have full boost. They always have 50+ boost. I'd be interested to see what the boost totals are like with the ball chasing stats, because I feel like KC just always, unless you're going for a play, they always have boost. Look at Cheeky Prophet. He's got tons of boost. Thorngold rotated out, had tons of boost, and of course it didn't matter in the end as Cheeky Prophet's going to get a fourth.
Yeah, the boost efficiency is just phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, these guys, even when they have 2 or 3 players, you know, out of boost, they're very good at collecting those small pads and getting themselves back up to 50+ boost. And that's what matters at the end of the day. You don't need 100 boost to make your plays. If you have 50+ boost or even, you know, 30 boost, you can get that one aerial out and you can do a lot with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, that's why those pads are so important. You'll see a lot of, I'm sure we've seen it in ranked, a lot of the Rocket League teammates will rotate back on those big pads and get the 100 boost, but they won't be there because it's been stolen or what have you. As Koov is going to get on the score sheet for El Matador with a minute left. There's still got a chance.
You know what's interesting? KC Cauldron had players with 100 boost, but no one's really engaging the ball right there. Cheeky just go back instead of challenge. I think that is a slight misplay. I think Cheeky should have been going for the ball right there, causing some disruption, because they had 2 at the back post anyways.
Yeah, but ultimately it's not going to matter. Thorngold off the kickoff is going to get the 4-goal lead back instantaneously.
I don't know what's going on right here, but it looked like
I think they tried to do a fake play maybe.
I don't think that looked like a fake. I think that looked like a muffed kickoff. Luis missed his flip or something, or missed his input, and yikes. That's all I could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Less than a minute to go, folks. KC Cauldron are up 5-1. I mean, you don't see this going any other way at this point. I think KC Cauldron look very comfortable right now. And El Matador, I think, have pretty much accepted their position. And why not? I mean, they're still making it to the next round, aren't they?
Yeah, but they'll be in the lower bracket, which means they get only 1 life. If Caesar's going to hit this on the open net, it's going to go in. cut the lead down to 3. But yeah, it's that big difference, right? Of course, KC has nothing to lose. The lowest they drop is the 3 seed, I believe, with a potential loss there or here. But for El Matador, more was on the line for them. They could be as high as the 2nd seed or as low as the 6th seed. So fortunately, it looks like we're leaning towards that 6th seed, but we'll see. Anything can happen in 30 seconds.
Indeed, and you talked about, didn't you? You played one ranked game where you came back from a 3-goal deficit within 30 seconds. So we'll see if these guys can do it as well. But the clock is ticking. They need a goal right now, right here. Couve and Luis going for the same ball. Ooh, that is a big misplay. I think Lucia just hung back. And now I believe it's game over. I don't see any way back for El Matador right here.
Yeah, I think that is going to be the nail in the coffin. And congratulations to KC Cauldron. They're going to go undefeated in the Swiss. And they are going to take the #1 seed.
It's incredible, Rydog. But once again, we see KC Cauldron looking phenomenal. Looking formidable. Even if they have a setback. Even if they have, you know, some danger. They're able to see it off and look so good. I don't know if any team can beat them right here, Rydog. It's just incredible.
Yeah, KC is one of those teams where I think I've talked about this on the SGL stream before, where you kind of just focus on your game, right? You wanna play your best game, and ultimately, if that's not enough, that's not enough. But I feel like with a team with KC, you have to find a way to play your best game, but also find a way to disrupt their game, and that includes, you know, maybe something different that you wouldn't normally do. That's not part of your normal play style, but you just have to. They look almost unstoppable, and of course, and unfortunately for El Matador, they couldn't get it done tonight either, along with all the other teams that they played in the Swiss. And so yeah, KC on top, and I think that means El Matador dropped to the 6th seed.
Absolutely. Congratulations to KC Cauldron. Commiserations to El Matador, but still, they've done well to be able to finish within the top 8, given, you know, how poorly they started off. And hey, man, the next round's matchups are decided now. You know, we'll see. Here's what they look like now that KC has won, folks. Let's just bring that up into the stream. Here we go. Here's what the matchups are now. Here are your final rankings, pretty much. And we will be seeing KC Cauldron playing against Steel Army in round 1. And then Timbers Army versus ECRC. That was already set in stone. The Rebellion versus Emerald City Blue. And to round off, El Matador versus the Locals. Woo! Good matchup right here. Right on.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be a crazy first round, right? And there's so much on the line. Of course, as we've mentioned before, those winners round 1 matches, they do have 2 lives. So the losers of those matches aren't out yet. They just get sent down to the losers, or the lower bracket, I shall say. But yeah, as I'm kind of looking at, now that everything's set in stone and I'm kind of looking at these matches, I think that, yeah, 2 versus 3 seed, Timbers Army, ECRC, Cascadia, Portland, Seattle, that whole thing is going to be an absolute banger of a matchup in that winners round. Yeah, and I think the El Matador Locals match is going to be another crazy match, because I think we talked about a little bit before our match kicked off that series could go either way depending on how other teams are playing.
Right? I mean, all it takes is one team having a bad day between these two sides, and, you know, it's either the Locals going through or El Matador, and it's this is it for those teams. It's just one game, you know, so they have to be on top of it. They have to be at their best, otherwise it's goodbye, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, like we just mentioned, that's why this match was so important for El Matador, right? They would jump up to that 2 seed and they would have an extra life, but unfortunately they do not. And so we are super excited that these are the official standings. And gosh, can we just play all the games tonight? Can we just finish the tournament tonight? I'm just so amped and so excited to see how this plays out.
I wish we can, but this is Sunday night, and we're heading towards the end of the night for, you know, people in the East Coast and within the Central Time Zone. So it'll have to be next week, right, Doug? I'm sorry, man.
All right, I'll wait a little bit longer, but Yeah, wow. What a swish stage, and it's gonna set us up super nicely for the knockouts.
Indeed, and I want to know the thoughts of the players right now. So we're just waiting for some interviews, folks, to see who's going to come up. But whilst that is happening, uh, one thing I want to talk about is the knockout stage format. We kind of talked about it earlier, but just so you all know, we will have an upper bracket and a lower bracket. In the upper bracket, the top 4 teams, they all get a second chance. For them, it's double elimination. So if they lose their matchup, they could still get a second chance and they move into the lower bracket. For teams that are in the lower bracket, that's it. It's one chance, one opportunity. If they lose, they're out. So they have no choice but to win to progress forward. You know, a lot of excitement right there, folks. If there's a potential upset, we may be seeing one of the higher seeds go down to the lower bracket. Of course, you have 2 strong teams in El Matador and the locals. You have 2 teams on the up in Emerald City Blue and the Rebellion. You know, we might see an upset. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what's so nice about this format, right? Like, and of course we've said it all throughout the broadcast today, but also in the past as well, that these top 8 teams are crazy good. And like I said, it's going to come down to who performs on the day in the 5 games allotted that they play. That's going to determine that. And of course, on the surface, it's kind of a dumb statement. Of course, the better team on the day most of the time wins, but it's just super important, especially for those lower bracket teams, right? They only get 1 life. They have to play like their backs are against the wall every single game that they go into.
Indeed, folks. Indeed, Rydog. Indeed. And I want to know Steel Army's thoughts. I know we have a couple of people in Steel Army in here. Debit and Bear Blitz. Let us know how you feel about finishing 4th and facing Casey Cauldron. I think the biggest thing for you guys is you get that second chance, don't you? So your tournament's not over if you lose to the Casey Cauldron, eh? And then, you have a really tasty matchup between El Matador and the locals. I don't think either team wanted to face each other in the first round, but here we are. Eventually, you're going to have to face the best teams, so why not get it out of the way early?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. I think, yeah, that's super important, right? Is you don't want to look back and think, dang, we should have won that series and then we would have stayed in the upper bracket, or, oh, dang, we should have won that series, we would be in the tournament, right? And so that upper bracket, of course, you have that extra layer of protection of, oh, we just had a bad day at the office, we got to come back, and now our backs are against the wall. But of course, yeah, for those lower bracket teams, they don't have that same luxury.
Nope, not at all. I mean, they really have to be on top of their game. They can't hope to get away with, a bad day. Unfortunately, they need to be at their very best. So I'm just waiting to see if we have any more interviews. But whilst we're reading, whilst we're waiting, we're just gonna read the chat. Caesar saying, locals, get ready to learn Chinese. We are literally SSG phase 1 and 2. I mean, you're not wrong. You guys did have, based off of the MB points, the most difficult schedule out of all those teams, right? You faced Casey Cauldron and Timbers Army, and you also faced the locals, which are a good side themselves, so there you have it. Alright, we will have someone coming in for the interview. Luis is going to join us very shortly. So we'll see what his thoughts are in this matchup. I don't think we're going to get a Cauldron interview today, but at least Luis could tell us how he feels about this. And there he is, Luis. Welcome aboard. How you doing?
Yeah, what's good?
Well, Luis, you might have thought that you had an opportunity after that game 1, but then that equalizer occurred at the very last second. I thought the ball touched the floor before it went into the goal, but it didn't, and I was just so shocked. How did that affect your mentality and your team's mentality?
It's just the same. It's EM, bro. We do. It's our mental's always the same, bro. We're just in there having a good time.
You know what? I dig that. I like that approach. You don't want to let anything really, put you down or, hurt you in general. So I like that. I appreciate that.
I am not high, Devitt. I am not zooted. This is okay. We have a mod in the chat. We need to get this guy out of here, man. I'm sick.
Come on, Devin, you should know better.
We're calling the league office in New York. I'm calling Adam Silver. He's on the phone right now. You're done, kid.
Uh-oh, you're in trouble now.
You're done. Just like James Harden flopping today.
I knew
Pissed.
that was
All right,
coming.
sorry.
Yeah,
I guess looking forward, Louise, you guys now have locals, and of course we've seen some banter kind of in the Twitch chat. But talk to me a little bit about that matchup and what you'd expect.
The locals, very good team. We played them, I believe. Pretty sure. I think we played them. I think we beat them. I think because we lost to them during the season. I think. So yeah, good team, good players. I don't know. KJ is one of my favorite humans in this server, so yeah, it should be fun.
Fair enough. Let's just see.
So, whilst that's happening, Luis, one thing I was curious about is, you know, your game plan with Kuven there in the lineup. It was working very well. I thought you got the best out of your team. Unfortunately, you were not able to overcome KC Cauldron in the whole match. But in games 1 and 3, you really put them under pressure. Do you think that's the best way to approach teams like the Cauldron, in general?
I'm gonna be 100% honest. We just went out there. Like we just we just try to score nice looking goals. I think we had a couple nice looking goals. But yeah, we're just trying to have fun. You know what I mean? We can. I mean, I guess you can game plan and go boost and go demo, but like I don't know. We're just trying to have fun and So no, if you do want to beat KC, you should probably have like a game plan and like actually like do it, because they haven't lost yet. So probably be good to have a game plan if it's against them.
Okay, I think that's shocking for me personally. I didn't think you guys went in there with no game plan because you guys were playing so well. Like, you guys looked like you had something set in stone, and there was such good chemistry among you three. I think that's a huge, that should be taken as a compliment by you guys. I think that's huge credit to you all. You guys were able to cause so much trouble to KC Cauldron just out of vibes, you know? It's just incredible to see. And, I hope Kuva's not taking this loss too badly, because I think he did really well too, given his limitations against the Cauldron.
Yeah, I think actually Colin didn't play too bad today. Obviously there's like some stuff that he just can't do, right? So like he'd tell you the same, right? Like there's like certain balls that like, like he even said it one time, like, man, I wish I was better at this game because I know I should be hitting these balls. And so yeah, it happens. Like, well, it's one of the fun things about the league is that you play with people of all different levels and all different skills and all different seriousnesses. There we go, brand new word. So yeah, I thought Colin played pretty well.
Yeah, exactly, and huge credit to him. But having played against the Cauldron now with that trio, do they look as formidable to you as you expected them to be? Do you think they can get even better from here? Tell us about what you think of that team now that you played them today.
I don't know if that's like their best lineup or whatever, but yeah, I mean, like again, they haven't lost for a reason, so I mean they're the best team in the league for a reason. So, definitely like, again, I think if you like super try hard and strategize, yeah, I think you can beat them, but yeah, they have like just like quality players. I mean, their worst player was playing today in Serrano, and I thought he was like pretty good. So, yeah.
Fair enough, and I do think they'll be a very strong team going forward right here. But now let's just wrap up this interview, and I just want to know if you have any shout-outs, if you want to say anything, anything you want to say. The floor is yours.
Yeah, Serrano's my roommate, so that was a joke. For those not in the know. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here. Right Dog Maz, everybody running the stream. Good stuff as always. And FC Dallas won a game, so it's a miracle. And we beat Houston, which is good too. So our manager survives for a couple more weeks. So so yeah, thank you guys, and yeah, appreciate all y'all do.
There you have it. Thank you very much, Luis. Appreciate your kind words, my dude.
All right, peace.
Peace. Well, Rydog, I think that pretty much does it for the stream right here. Just to quickly recap, KC Cauldron did beat El Matador 3-1, and by virtue of that, we have our top 8 decided, and thus our first round's matchups, which we'll be showing in stream very shortly.
Yeah, let's get those up real quick on the stream one last time.
So there you have it, folks.
They are.
That's the full bracket for you. In round 1, we're going to see number 1, KC Cauldron face number 4, Steel Army. Yes, Steel Army did finish 4th, surprisingly. Number 2, Timbers Army faced number 3, ECRC. And then to round off the lower bracket, Rebellion versus EC Blue, and then El Matador versus the Locals. And it's interesting to see how this could progress. In the next round, we may have one of El Matador or the Locals face KC Cauldron or Steel Army. Ooh, that should get interesting. And then one of the Rebellion or EC Blue face Timbers Army and ECRC. Again, very close matchups right here, Rydog. Very interesting stuff. How do you view, your potential run in this tournament, given the format right here?
Yeah, I think if somebody told me at the beginning of either the league or the Swiss itself that you would be a top 4 seed and you could actually make a run in the winners or the upper half of the bracket, I would call them crazy. But yeah, I think looking at the matchups, I think the Timbers Army Emerald City RC matchup is going to be crazy. I really do think that's a coin flip. I think the history doesn't support that matchup being a coin flip, but I really think it is with the way that we as Timbers Army have improved, and of course ECRC just being themselves being really, really good. And so I think that that's going to be a coin flip. But yeah, I think that lower bracket is really scary, right? I think, sometimes you look at a lower bracket and go, oh, okay, if we get this team, we'll be fine. Like hey, if we lose the ECRC, we'll get this team, and then we'll make it to here, and then we'll make it to, like you start speculating. But those 4 teams are tough teams, man. Like that's absurd. And so even if you drop to that lower bracket, like it's gonna be an absolute dogfight no matter what.
Indeed, and I cannot wait for next week. I think that's when it's gonna get very interesting. We'll see some good stuff coming up right here, folks. But that about does it for the stream. Thank you all for joining in. Before we head out, Rydog, do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap things up here?
Yeah, maybe just something quick. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and yeah, definitely keep a lookout in the announcements channel. We'll see if we can get some of these high caliber games broadcasted this week for you guys, and hopefully, yeah, early in the week, so we can kind of look forward to the other rounds. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Indeed, we will. Thank you very much, Rydog, for joining me in commentary. Really appreciate it as always. And, all help is good help, so I'll take what I get. So appreciate it once again. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. That about does it. KC Cauldron versus the El Matador. Finished 3-1 to KC Cauldron. And that's it for tonight. We will catch you all next week if we can get a stream set up. We cannot wait for the SGL Cup knockout stage to start, folks. Thank you all so much for joining in. Have a good one. Have a good night. We'll catch you next week. Peace.